Welcome into Willy 1033, the morning show here, the Willy Wake Up Morning Show. I'm Steve Rixx, and there's a big country concert coming up. As a matter of fact, it's called the Good for Country Concert, coming up at the Angelina County Expo Center on April 13th. And some big acts. We got some local folks coming up. Jackson Wendell and Cole Stevens are opening up. Dylan Scott will be appearing too. And some people you may be familiar with, a band that's been around. They've been around for a few years. They're called the Oak Ridge Boys. And joining me right now from the Oak Ridge Boys, Mr. Richard Sterban. Thank you, sir, for joining us this morning.
Well, Steve, thank you. It's my pleasure to be able to talk to you. And let me thank you right here at the very top. Thank you for doing this. When you promote the fact that we're coming your way, you help us. And I can speak for all the Oak Ridge Boys, and I can tell you we appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. It's the Oak Ridge Boys have been a part of my fabric for as long as I can remember. My mom and dad raised us on Oak Ridge Boys, Willy, Waylon, the Boys, Bobby Bear, Ed Bruce, all the good ones, right?
Absolutely. Things are a little different in this day and age, that's for sure.
Well, so you guys are on the farewell tour, 50 plus years you've been with the Oak Ridge Boys. The first question I want to ask out of the box is, did you do all the things you wanted to do? Are there any regrets? Is there something you say, man, I wish we had another chance to do that thing over again?
Well, the answer to your question is, I don't think any of us have any regrets. You know, we've been so fortunate. We've been so blessed, really, to have such a great career. So many great things have happened to us over the years. And that is one of the reasons why we're doing a farewell tour. We want to take time, and we want to go around to as many places as we can possibly go and say thank you to our fans and to all the people that have helped us have such a great career. You know, you said we were celebrating, 50 plus years of doing this together. That's a milestone is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. We are very proud of. You don't see that very often, a group being able to stay together for 50 plus years. So we're very proud of that. And like I said, we've announced a farewell tour. One thing we have not announced, however, is when the farewell tour will end, because right. we do not know that ourselves. As I said, we want to go around as many places as possible and say thank you. Our fans are so important to us, and we want to say thanks to our fans. We want to say thank you to people like you who have promoted the Oak Ridge Boys over the years. We want to say thank you to people on radio that have played our records over the years. So that's going to take us a while. And so we have not announced that we're retiring. We know that is inevitable, and someday that will happen. But I think the good Lord above will let us know when it's time to hang it up for good. He has not said that yet. So we're going to be around for a little while yet, thanking people for allowing us to have such a great career.
Talking to Richard Sterban of the Oak Ridge Boys about the Good for Country concert coming up April 13th at the Angelina County Expo Center. We have all these hits, the Y'all Come Back Saloon, Elvira, Bobby Sue, American Made, the list goes on and on. When Elvira came out, we were all singing Papa Mau Mau, and I need to know, is that a lyric that was included? Was that a written word? Is that something that one of you guys came up with?
Well, a gentleman named Dallas Frazier wrote the song. Mm-hmm. And he wrote it many, many years ago. He actually had a hit on it himself many years ago. And Kenny Rogers recorded the song. Rodney Crowell, several artists recorded that song before the Oak Ridge Boys. But Dallas Frazier actually wrote, to answer your question, he actually wrote the Giddy Up, Papa Mau Mau part into the song. And there's a great story that most people do not realize. I've never written a song myself, but I've talked to enough songwriters, and they will tell you, you never know where you're going to get the inspiration to write a song. In the case of Dallas Frazier and Elvira, he was driving home from a recording session or a writer's session or something in Nashville. He was driving through East Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
He came up to a street sign that said Elvira Street. And he saw that. He pulled his car right up to the street sign. And I've heard him tell this story, so it actually happened. He pulled the car up to the street sign. He pulled out a piece of paper or an envelope or something. And right there on the spot, he wrote Elvira Elvira. My heart's on fire for Elvira. And then right there, he also wrote the Giddy Up, Papa Mau Mau part. And when he told the story, he said the Papa Mau Mau part imitates the bumps on the road on Elvira Street. Elvira Street probably evidently had a lot of potholes or chug holes or whatever you want to call them. And so the Papa Mau Mau part imitates the bumps on the road. And that's something people do not realize. Now, when he got home, he had to write some verses about a woman so the whole thing would make sense.
Right.
The original inspiration for Giddy Up, Papa Mau Mau, and Elvira came from a street sign, Elvira Street in East Nashville, and the bumps on the road.
What a great story. What a great story.
And then when we got, I remember the day we recorded the song, Ron Chansey was our producer. We called him the Fifth Oak Ridge Boy for many years. And because he was a great song man, he produced most of the greatest hits on the Oak Ridge Boys. When we were in the studio recording Elvira, it was his idea for me to do the Giddy Up, Papa part. So what I did, I just took that line and kind of adapted it to my way of doing things. And I guess it turned out okay because it's probably one of the most well-known bass lines in all of the music business. So it like I say, I think it turned out okay.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said, the fabric of my childhood is growing up listening to all of these great songs, and I'm thankful that I grew up in such an opportune time to be able to experience all of this great music. Speaking of experiencing great music, my mother was a huge Elvis fan, as were lots of women, and they spent 3 days. My mother was 3 days on the couch crying when Elvis passed. If people don't know, you got the opportunity in your youth to sing with Elvis in his group. What was that like, being close to that man, or at least in his sort of orbit and proximity? What was it like?
Well, it was an amazing experience, to say the least. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I joined J.D. Sumner and the Stamps Quartet. J.D. Sumner actually called me and wanted to hire a young bass singer to take his place. He's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's lowest bass singer. But he wanted to get off the road, and he wanted to hire a young bass singer to take his place. So I joined J.D. and the Stamps, and I moved. That's how I came to live here in Nashville. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was only there with J.D. and the Stamps for a few months when J.D. Sumner got a phone call from Elvis. Elvis was looking to hire a new backup group, and so he hired J.D. Sumner and the Stamps. So here I was as a young man singing. I found myself singing on stage with the biggest star in the world back then.
Right.
It was an amazing experience. Elvis was the biggest star in the world, and his tour was the biggest tour in the music business back then. And to be a part of it was very, very exciting. I got to know Elvis just a little bit. I had some great memories, of the time that I spent with him. It was a special time in my life, and it's a time that I'll never forget. And now that many years have passed and I look back on that experience, I'm so thankful that I was able to experience it. But, something happened to me. And I'm not trying to get ahead of things here, but something happened to me while I was singing with Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 1972, I got a phone call from William Lee Golden of the Oak Ridge Boys. And he's the guy in our group, as you know, with the long beard, probably the most recognizable character in the Oak Ridge Boys. But back then, he did not have that long beard. He was Mr. GQ. But
wow.
He called me and said the bass singer in the Oak Ridge Boys was leaving. And the Oak Ridge Boys wanted to know if I would be interested in taking the job. So here I was, apparently on top of the world, singing with Elvis, singing with the king of rock and roll. But I had to make a decision. And I had to admit that, I was a big fan of the Oak Ridge Boys. I loved the music that they were making. And I really felt like the group had a great deal of potential. So I wanted to be a part of it. So back in 1972, I made the decision to leave Elvis and to join the Oak Ridge Boys. And back then, a lot of people questioned that. How could you do that? How could you leave Elvis and join? But, I really believed deep down in my heart I was doing the right thing. I followed my heart. And now, 52 years later, I think I look back on that decision. I realized I made a pretty good decision back then, because over the last 50 plus years, so many great things have happened to me personally, and not just me personally, but the four Oak Ridge boys. And we've been very fortunate, and we've been very blessed. I never dreamed back then, when I was singing on stage with Elvis, that someday I would be in the same Hall of Fame with him. But, if you go into the Country Music Hall of Fame here in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
go into the rotunda, you'll see the four faces of the Oak Ridge boys in bronze. Then you look around the room, you'll see Elvis there in bronze as well. You'll see Johnny Cash, you'll see Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers. The list goes on and on and on. And for the Oak Ridge boys to be a part of that group is so special. It's beyond words. But I never dreamed back then, when I was singing with Elvis as a young guy, that someday this would end up happening to me. So it's a very special thing. You never realize how things are going to work out in your life.
This is true. Talking to Richard Sterban of the Oak Ridge Boys, coming to town for the Good for Country concert, April 13th, the Angelina County Expo Center at the 7:30 show. $15 will get you in. Some great acts: Jackson Wendell, Cole Stevens, Dylan Scott, and the Oak Ridge Boys. Richard, I certainly hope that I get a chance to sing you Papa Mau Mau one more time for me, while you guys are on stage in Lufkin. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, sir. I look forward to seeing you guys in town. Thank you for spending some time with me.
Well, once again, thank you for doing this. And let me speak before I go, let me speak one more time for all of the Oak Ridge boys and tell you we're looking forward to coming your way. We're honored to be a part of this benefit, to feed hungry people. It's certainly a worthwhile cause. So we want to encourage as many people as possible. Come on out. Spend some time with the Oak Ridge boys. Let's celebrate together, and let's join together in this worthwhile cause. We're going to have a great time. So come on out and celebrate with us.
Thank you, Richard, once again for joining me today. I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.